This is an RPG A Day response from the Casting Shadows blog. Today is day 4 of RPG A Day for 2016. It's the 4th of August. No coincidence there. The dates match up, imagine. 31 days of questions and answers and sharing those questions and answers all over the internet. Hashtag RPG A Day. Well, today's question is, what was the most impressive thing someone else's character did? Yesterday we talked about the most amazing character moment from your perspective. Well, what has someone else done at the table that got your attention? Another tough question, but easier maybe than yesterday, because I get to see a lot of people's characters. I notice on my blog that the things that I respond to most strongly in role-playing games tend to be acts of heroism. You might say, well, we always play heroes in all the games, but this is not precisely true. I really mean heroism, self-sacrifice, standing up maybe against your best interest for the good of others, the altruistic sense of doing for others what they cannot do themselves, but they in some way merit. I like that. It's not something that was a routine part of play as a young teenager growing up, exploring fantasy stories. The idea was more one of martial prowess, that kind of hero, not necessarily rescuing or saving or standing between, but beating, besting, defeating. These are common themes, I find. Outwitting, tricking, stealing, all the things that you want to experiment with in terms of a fantasy character. Why are fantasy thieves so appealing to so many, or heavily armored and muscled characters, or very lithe and agile and deadly characters, and characters like Batman or Spider-Man or whatever, who just take us that little step beyond ourselves. But even as heroes, or even in a framework that invites us to be heroes, we don't always see that kind of play. And it's sometimes in places where we don't expect it that we find it. But am I going to talk about someone's character doing something amazing in this vein? Well, I've already done so in a previous year of RPG A Day, so I'm not going to do so again this year. This year, we're going to talk about something else. So, freed for the moment from the chains of preference and bias and personal taste, the mind is free to roam wild over a vast array of options, different choices, different time periods, different games, and so on, without being bound to this one thing that you think is the coolest. What is the character moment that someone else's character did that was the most impressive thing? There's so many things to think about. My tabletop group, the group I get to play Star Wars with, so often they surprise me, they amaze me, they impress me. There have been moments of altruism for sure, but there's also been moments of incredible violence or deceit or bravado or humor or just gobsmacked surprise. There are things that the players have been willing to do through the vehicles of their characters which are impressive, and so many things that the interaction of these people and these characters produces that is impressive. But what is the most impressive thing that someone else's character has done? What could I possibly choose with all these options? So I thought about this question for quite a long time, and then my eyes fell on the spine of aces and eights, and I knew what I wanted to talk about. There are so many cool choices, it would be impossible to pick one without some little bit of luck. And it was that element to it that made me think of this story and made it be the one I wanted to tell. So we're playing aces and eights, and the characters that I was presented with as the game master were not exactly the survival types, and that was part of the point. one was saddled with a debilitating addiction. The other one was saddled with a real attitude. And neither one of the characters wanted to start at the bottom and work their way up. They were grudgingly accepting that. They were on the trail of vengeance, but they had run out of money. They were trying to restore their family name, but they were, working dead end, no hope jobs and this sort of thing. They had skills, but there were so many obstacles in the way. They were just blocked and blocked and blocked. And this is what the players had created for themselves. And the setting that I had made was full of opportunities. And so this is what, made the tension, I guess, an enjoyable one. It wasn't that the game master was saying, no, try again, no, try again, no, try again, kind of thing. It was that because of their own natures, things were difficult, but not impossible. Now, one of the NPCs in the area was, the deadly gunslinger hired by one of the many people who had become rich in the area. Not the richest, not the most powerful, but maybe the most threatening, the one that people worried about, the one that people wouldn't cross. And of course, he had the best, the toughest hired hands. They had the best reputations, and people talked in low tones about them and looked the other way when something went awry. And as the campaign built, tensions with this particular gunslinger grew. And the point I want to talk about is that these characters were down on their luck, and they were slowly building a network of friends. And because of that bad luck, because of these terrible interactions, that those friends are being exposed to more trouble than they deserved. Not more than they could handle, but more than they deserved. And things build and build and build. And one of the two characters, these are brothers, gets jailed. And their boss, employer, friend, and kind of benefactor in a way, is murdered. And we all know who's responsible. It's that kind of feeling, but there's no proof, and there's nothing that the law is going to do. There's no way that justice will be served. And this is just another frustrating circumstance. And our remaining free brother, well, of course, he's skilled in the law. He knows what punishments are due, and yet is completely frustrated by his inability to bring them about. And he recognizes that he could pick up a gun to solve these problems. This is not who he is. And I see the player struggling with this. And it's maybe a case of this was the long introductory story to the character making this decision, or it was something that he wanted to work out himself about the idea of violence and nonviolence. Do I or don't I? Am I able to find justification for my actions or not? Or does this mad dog of a gunslinger need to be put down so badly that my moral objections no longer apply? It was really interesting to watch him go through this and plan a jailbreak for his brother. But of course, he knows he's going to be balked, and he goes armed, and he winds up face to face in the street. Not really a showdown at noon, but he winds up face to face in the street with this deadly gunslinger, and everyone's telling him he's going to die. And there isn't a person in the room, me included, who doesn't disagree with that sentiment. And the player goes through with it anyway. He's going to stand up, he's going to fight this duel, despite how deadly the situation is, despite how deadly the in-game reputation of the character is, and despite what he knows about the lethality of the aces and eights gunfight system. He goes through with it anyway. And he wins. For once, and the only time in the played history of that character, luck was on his side. And he found himself standing over the dead body of the most feared gunfighter in the region, and got arrested. Tomorrow, day 5. New question. Please continue to watch other people's videos. Tell people about those videos. Tell them about RPGaDay. Make comments wherever you do social media, however you like to do it, and tag them RPGaDay. Talk to you soon. Autocratic's RPGaDay is brought to you this year by the RPG Brigade. You can see a weekly recap of responses and things on the RPG Brigade YouTube channel. To get the questions and participate yourself, go to brigadecon.org. We have everything you'll need, now in 3 languages.